Hey, welcome to the channel, everybody. I hope you're doing well. So please go ahead, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is a great way to push these videos out to others and grow the channel. So by now you know how this works. We'll be checking out some clips, and at the end of the show I'll be giving my opinion. So let's just get right into it and see what we got today, guys. We are live.
Germany created a hotline to basically snitch on family members, friends, or colleagues who are conspiracy thinkers. I mean, it's crazy. The German government launched something called Advice Compass on Conspiracy Thinking. And I will quote directly from the German government's website here. It says, "The advice center is now available online and by telephone. The first appointment is for anonymous initial advice and assessment of individual needs. The advice is, of course, confidential." So you see how this is totally totalitarian, and in Germany of all places. This shows that the powers that be are afraid. They are afraid of the truth, because conspiracy theories, of course there's a few conspiracy theories out there that are not true, as it is with anything, but most of them, I researched them, most of them are true. So they are basically afraid that the truth will come out. And this only shows that these governments, they're getting afraid of the truth coming out. They're saying it's anti-democratic. Well, you know, we saw the true anti-democratic tendencies 5 years ago during the quote-unquote health crisis. So, you know, this is something that we have to keep speaking about, because it's very, very important that this not happen. We know if we don't speak out about it, and we don't do anything about it, and we don't let our voice hear, history has shown us what will happen.
Amen.
We cannot let this happen again. They're trying to repeat history again, you know, like in the DDR or in Soviet Russia, where they snitched on people. Well, people ratted each other out, even 5 years ago, if you had a party at your house, remember? So we can't let this happen again. We got to speak out against this.
You know, what was really astonishing to me was how many people actually did snitch on their neighbors and family. Astonishing.
So a lot of people were asking me for examples of primary water because they were never taught it. Reason being is our educational system was taken over by the Rockefellers in the 1900s, and then the media was taken over by Operation Mockingbird in the 1960s. So both systems do not teach about primary water, which is right here. This is the combination of hydrogen and oxygen coming in from inside the earth at a volcanic pressure to create brand new water, living water. Water that does not contain fluoride, that does not contain arsenic, that does not have pharmaceuticals or drugs or anything inside of it. It's pure. And that's why back in the day when they were going into mines and they were trying to mine, for example, copper or gold or silver, whatever it may be, these mines would actually flood out. They would have to get pumps to try to pump out the water because the water was just coming in through the walls because there's so much water underneath us. But the media will always try to put the fear that we are running out of water. They start putting all this drought stuff and that we're running out of water. And then now, because we are running out of water, supposedly because we are supposedly using it all up, they're trying to usher in, for example, water police, water taxes, and all these water basically restrictions so that you can't grow your own food, you can't water your lawn, you can't wash your car. So it's important to be aware of primary water, the water you have never been taught about, at the primarywaterinstitute.org, so that you can remove the fear and never live in the fear that we are actually running out of water.
You know, I could see the next big thing that we're fighting over will be water, clean water.
Feminism has told us for a very long time having babies is slavery. So how about I just get a dog instead so that I can meet my need for nurture without the actual responsibility of having a baby? Because this little thing is a lot easier to look after than a baby. I don't have a problem with people that love their pets. I love my dogs. But I have a problem with people in culture that treat dogs like they're babies but then think it's okay to murder their own babies in the womb. When our culture esteems veganism and the fact that, well, we shouldn't kill animals for our food, I have a problem when you care more about killing animals for food than the genocide that's going on in our culture right now, and that is the murder of millions and millions of babies. That's my problem with culture today. You treat a dog better than you treat a baby made in the image of God. You care more about animals being used for food than babies made in the image of God. Look at what G.K. Chesterton said. Wherever there is animal worship, there is human sacrifice. Nurturing is instinctual. That's why we'll do it with anything. We'll do it with our pets. Being selfless, that's not instinctual. Titus chapter 2 actually says it like this. He says to the older women, train the younger women to love their husbands and love their children. What do you mean train? I thought that it was just a maternal instinct. No. Instead of older women telling the younger women that children are a blessing, the older women have been telling the younger women they're a hindrance. To be a mother, that's slavery. And we wonder why, as a society, we have gotten here where we think it's okay to murder babies in the womb.
Yeah, and not only that, but we're all just fornicating like rabbits.
The timeline goes as follows. So in 1955, Operation Deep Freeze starts. And when Admiral Richard Byrd gets back, he comes on live television and tells us he found more land the size of North America. They quickly start NASA. And President Eisenhower calls over the Nazi traitors in Operation Paperclip to start the upper space mind control program. Don't look out there. Look up here. Look, everybody. We're going to the moon. Then, in 1959, 12 nations started the Antarctic Treaty, followed by 42 more nations where they have decided you or I cannot travel or explore any part of Antarctica, south or past the 60th parallel, without military clearance, without the aid of a guided tour. Do you really think that this is just a coincidence?
More. Imagine they find more land. Imagine there is more land out there, more to explore, more to reside, more resources. You think they tell you and I about it?
Countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
job.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Now, I know there's a lot of maps that do talk about cities underneath the ice caps and even on the other side of these ice caps. And there's even maps out there, which I am going to show one. So could these maps show beyond the ice wall? And also, are there passages where you could get beyond the ice barrier as well? So let me know what you think about Antarctica. And if there was an exploration that you could get on, would you go to Antarctica?
I would love to go and just see for myself what's out there.
What if I told you that hospital due dates for childbirth are a complete scam? While not technically a scam, the term due date can be considered misleading because only a very small percentage of babies are actually born on the exact calculated date. In fact, less than 5% of babies are born on the calculated date. But what is the big deal about that? Well, as soon as you get past your due date, which is inaccurate, clearly, you get closer and closer to being considered high risk. And what happens when you're high risk? You're more likely to get a C-section or be induced, which is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Furthermore, when you are past your due date, a woman's stress level goes up, cortisol, because everyone's asking, when's the baby coming? Isn't it late? The doctor's, oh, no, it's late, checks his watch. You know that there's a phenomenon where more children are C-sectioned at 10 p.m. and 5 p.m. than any other time of day. And that's because at 5 p.m. it's the end of the day, time to go home, let's get this over with. At 10 p.m., I don't want to be here all night, let's get this over with. Some hospitals even have a 70% cesarean section rate, which is very profitable. America has the most amount of neonatal intensive care units in the world, and also the highest infant mortality rate. Makes you wonder. This is an umbilical cord. It is attached to the placenta. It is full of blood. Why is it clamped? Why do they clamp babies' umbilical cords as soon as they're born? And you have to beg them to do a delayed cord clamping. Well, a third of the baby's blood is still in the placenta. Shouldn't it make its way to the baby and we let it pump all the way? Well, we'll talk about that.
Interesting. Now here's one rabbit hole that I have not gone down before, but a lot of people have been telling me to check it out. So here's the introduction.
They call it male feminization. Whenever you're adding all these chemicals. Atrazine is the big one that's often studied. It's a herbicide. It's the second most used herbicide in North America. I don't know if you've heard of atrazine.
Right.
Yeah, it's in the drinking water. Totally illegal in Europe, by the way. They don't even allow it in Europe.
It's crazy.
And in America, it's the second most used after glyphosate. But they'll call it male feminization. You give these animals atrazine exposures, and they're equal exposures to a lot of Americans. And like, for example, if you have a frog and you've got him in 200 nanograms per deciliter of atrazine, 200, that male frog turns female. Now you've got a female frog. But it's not just atrazine, because now you got the plastic water bottles. Oh, and you've got all this fragrance and all these parabens. You're rubbing it on your skin. Your skin is absorbing all this stuff. Oh, and now you've got like sunscreen chemicals, right? We haven't even talked about that, but oxybenzone in sunscreen, by far the most widely used chemical in sunscreen. That's an estrogen endocrine disruptor. It acts like estrogen in your body. And they did a study, after I published my book, they did a study with oxybenzone, and one application of sunscreen, just one, 7 days later, it was above the government's safety limits in people's blood. And that's just an adult with one application of oxybenzone. And some people are putting it on their kids like 5 days a week, and like putting it on their face with these like personal care products that brag about like keeping your face protected from the sun. They call it male feminization.
Yeah, I've always, since I was a kid, hated the feel of sunscreen on my skin.
So today we're going to hit on the nicotine rabbit hole and doctors. This is quite an interesting one. So it starts back in the 1940s when the Rockefeller doctors were paid by tobacco companies to tell them to smoke cigarettes. Now the tobacco companies realized they're not going to stay around forever, but if we get doctors to promote nicotine gum and nicotine patches, we can stay around forever. And they didn't stop there, they also invested into inhalers and the CBD products. Then it gets even deeper when you find out that the pharmaceutical companies Johnson & Johnson and GSK are producing all of these nicotine products in 2025. Ah, the same pharmaceutical companies that want global vaccination and depopulation. That's the brands. And look it, ran by the Rockefellers. And then we find another Rockefeller right here. Didn't people know the medical system's ran by the Rockefellers, also in connection with the tobacco companies? Then I start going through the ingredients of all the nicotine gums and I find polysorbate 80. That's the same chemical in vaccines to break down your blood-brain barrier. Now someone might say it's totally by chance. Polysorbate 80 modified neurotoxin nanoparticle used in nicotine products and ivermectin. So after all that, it's kind of hard to trust doctors. I don't know about you, and what's funny is they still preach the virus thing, which is all a lie. In reality, technology was jumping all over in 2020, and radio wave sickness was affecting everybody. And radio wave sickness has been going on for a long period of time, but the medical books will tell you it's viruses, ran by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds. And there's a great book on this topic if you want to learn about every pandemic resulting from new forms of technology and them rolling out injections for the people. And there's another great book by Tom Cowan, The Contagion Myth, that debunks germs and viruses and that Rockefeller narrative, which has been going on since the Flexner Report of 1913. It's up to us to kind of decide which way we want to go. Do we want to believe the lies, or do we want to move forward? Up to you.
You know, we don't hear a lot about 5G anymore.
What are you thinking about?
So during the Las Vegas shooting, Stephen Paddock supposedly expended over 3,000 rounds of ammunition over the course of 10 minutes from 27 AR-15s, each equipped with bump stocks. But that would have required him to drop a gun for another after each 30-round mag was empty and then reload each of the 27 ARs at least 4 times over. That's even despite the fact videos from survivors show a non-stop stream of bullets at a fire rate much higher than that of a bump stock AR-15 and resembling more of a fire rate similar to that of an M240 light machine gun. And investigative photos of Paddock's hotel room where he shot from only show 50 spent shells. And what about once when the FBI took over the investigation, Paddock's house somehow burnt down and destroyed all the evidence, and years later America's mass shooting is still ruled to have no motive. And even after Paddock's brother went on air claiming nothing made sense, the following day he was arrested for possessing several hundred terabytes of child porn on a 20-year-old computer running on Windows 95. It all doesn't make any sense. And this is according to the FBI?
Nothing. Nothing.
I'd be lying if I said I don't think about that too.
If you want to stop getting your taste buds hijacked by big food, There's one specific ingredient I want you to look out for, and that's natural flavors. Natural flavor is one ingredient on the ingredient label, however, can mean thousands of different chemicals. And this is made in a laboratory by the best scientists in the world to create addictive flavors to food that normally wouldn't taste good or be palatable because it's fake food in a package that's manufactured to sit on the shelf for a long time. And so they make something that is a blueberry flavor, but create it with the most 1/1,000,000th best part of a blueberry taste. And they put it in that product. So you remember that flavor and you go back to it. When I remember a Chick-fil-A sandwich, which I haven't had in over 15 years, by the way, I remember it because of these types of additives. My mouth starts watering when I think about Chick-fil-A, or when I say the word Chick-fil-A. It's because they put these chemicals together to really hijack your brain so that every time you pass that fast food restaurant on the road, you want to stop for it. And it's the exact same reason why you know the difference between a McDonald's hamburger or a Burger King hamburger or a Wendy's hamburger. It's all of these manufactured chemicals in a laboratory to take over your body and give you less than nutritious food. And that's definitely the cause of the obesity epidemic that we have today.
Yeah, try to get off sugar and fast food, and it's tough.
The shuttle exploded and all 7 crew members lost their lives. This is Judy Resnick, an engineer and pilot aboard the Challenger mission. In 2013, an eagle-eyed internet user found Judith Resnick, a law professor at Harvard Law School. Some people were a little taken aback by the identical name, age, and likeness, so they started digging. This is Michael J. Smith, also an engineer and pilot aboard the Challenger shuttle, who passed away that fateful day in 1986 at the age of 39 years old. This is Dr. Michael J. Smith, professor of engineering at the University of Wisconsin. This is Sharon Krista McAuliffe, arguably one of the most famous things about the Challenger mission. She was supposedly just a teacher that was picked at random to be one of the astronauts, which made it all the more tragic when she passed away due to the Challenger disaster in 1986. This is Sharon A. McAuliffe, also a law professor who received her degree shortly after the Challenger disaster. Dick Scobie was the commander of the mission. Here's Commander Dick Scobie next to Richard Scobie, the CEO of Cows and Trees. Here's his company's original logo. It's a cow, but it's not in a tree, it's strapped to a rocket, and gee, that jet stream kind of looks familiar. In fact, just in case I wasn't making it clear, the top picture is the Challenger ship shortly after exploding. So, you know, Astronauts Ronald McNair and Ellison Onizuka both passed away when the Challenger shuttle exploded. Miraculously, it was found out that they both had twin brothers, Carl McNair and Claude Onizuka. But ancestry searches were done for both Carl and Claude, and there was no birth records found. And the odds of 2 sets of identical twins in a crew of 7 are astronomical. But that's just a theory. Rest in peace to the crew of the Challenger space shuttle mission.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty difficult to believe anything from NASA these days, or even back in the day, really, when you start doing your research. I don't know, guys. Sooner or later, someone's gonna have to come out and just tell us it's all bullshit and show us what's actually going on, because there's some people that are just always gonna believe this.
I have a problem with the Vatican City. The Catholic Church opened a very wide gate and caused a lot of mischief to happen internally within the church and affected outside as well. A lot of affairs, a lot of things that take place in the Vatican City are far away from the Lord Jesus. I beg the Catholic Church to revisit and reevaluate their position. If the Catholic Church goes back to the Church Fathers' teachings, early centuries, stunning. It is the Holy, Apostolic, Universal or Catholic Church of the Lord Jesus. The Catholic Church needs to be a Catholic Church without the Vatican in it. Forget about the Vatican and be the Church of Christ. Do not let the mafia and the Freemason infiltrate. Do not. Stop it, even if it means bloodshed.
I've said it time and time again. There's nothing wholly about the Vatican and see what happens now that the Pope is gone.
To become President of the United States, you must travel to Israel, visit the Western Wall, don the hat, and pay homage. You must also speak before AIPAC and promise what you will use your position for in order to help Israel. All presidents must do this, as I'm showing above. Now, it's in my personal opinion that I think this is too much. I think this influences the priorities of the president and the priorities of the country. As we've seen in the past year, we've watched the country on multiple occasions prioritize the needs of a foreign country over the needs of its own people. We prioritize people overseas more than our own civilians, even during natural disasters such as hurricanes. So I highly disagree with this requirement of all presidents. And I think America should act like a superpower and not be bullied around or beholden to others. Because all that you've seen above, I mean, come on, that's a bit ridiculous.
I would agree. But if you notice, it's every single time.
This is scenes from Germany in the 1930s, before the needless, blind destruction of man destroyed some of the most beautiful architecture mankind has ever created. But to let my words not distract any further from this truly beautiful scene, I'll just ask you this: have we truly progressed forward from this point?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I would give a resounding no. Look at this architecture. Nowadays, everything's bland, box-like. They call it modern, but let's face it, it's just uninspired, ugly, nothing. You know, even fast food places. When you look at a McDonald's back in the 80s, it was colorful, it was full of characters and life and all that good stuff, you know what I mean? Aside from the obvious poison that it is, but the point is, you look at a McDonald's today, it's this gray square building. They don't even have a play place in it anymore. It's just got this tablet stuck to a wall next to a dirty chair. Nothing is made to inspire anymore. It's almost like the people who are building or designing these buildings today hate society, and it's reflective in this boring, drab, bland landscape. You know, the city that I live in used to be a Klondike town, and you can see that on a couple of streets where we still have the original buildings, a lot of character to them, but not anymore.
If you still think we're the first advanced civilization to exist on Earth, then this will change your mind and blow it at the same time. Okay, so this is a map of pyramids all around the world, all allegedly built independently of each other and all having identical structures that follow this similar step pattern. Now I know, most historians will tell you, oh, it's just the easiest tall structure to build. It's human nature. If it's so easy, why are our 21st century brains not capable of doing what dozens of ancient civilizations have repeatedly been able to do? We got the famous pyramids of Djoser in Egypt, but everyone knows about those. Across the world, there's Chichen Itza, Pyramid de los Nichas, Tikal Temple, the Great Pyramid of Cholula, among others in Mexico. And then on the other side of the planet, we got Ko Ker and Prasat Baksay Cham Krong in Cambodia. Off the coast of a tiny Japanese island deep within the ocean is the sunken Yonaguni monument, a supposed 10,000 years old, older than even the Egyptian pyramids. All with a nearly identical look, yet built by completely different cultures with zero contact among each other and thousands of kilometers apart. But this is just the tip. We got way more lesser known pyramids, even older than the Egyptian ones, that ain't even standing anymore. Like the Gunung Padang Temple in Indonesia. Doesn't look so hot now, but used to be a step pyramid a whole 9,000 years ago. At least that's what they thought, until a more recent radiocarbon analysis shows that the lower parts of this temple go as far back as 28,000 years. Then this enormous hill in Bosnia was studied, and almost every archaeologist that visited it confirmed that it could not have been naturally formed, perfectly aligning to true north among many other characteristics of pyramids. These studies found out this hidden monument is over 35,000 years old and would be the oldest and largest pyramid in the world, hidden under years of vegetation. But the Bosnian government strangely halted further study on this thing for some reason. There's a crazy story behind what they found there, which honestly deserves its own video, so I'll probably be dropping that sometime. Fallen Pyramid of Hellinikon in Greece has boulders that are joined so tightly that even a human hair can't fit through the joints without any sort of ancient cement used. Built around 3000 BC, meanwhile an almost identical masonry techniques was found in these walls in the city of Cusco in Peru, called Sacsayhuaman, over 11,000 30,000 kilometers away. And how old are these walls? Mainstream history will tell you they were built around the 15th century, but researchers recently uncovered a writing system built directly within the blocks of these walls that's well over 30,000 years old. Again, a topic that deserves its own video coming soon. This exact method is also found on a site called Ahu'Vinapu on the remote Easter Island, older than even their legendary Moai heads, as well as Khafre's Valley Temple in Egypt. How did our ancient ancestors figure out these identical building techniques completely independent of each other when we still have no idea how they did it to this day? Now we get to the Ellsworth Mountains in Antarctica. Okay, get your tinfoil hats ready for this one, because this satellite footage from 2016 shows what could be a pyramid buried in the South Pole. This map from 1513 by sailor Peary Rays shows a perfectly accurate coastline of Antarctica, even though it wasn't officially discovered 300 years later in 1820. What's weird is this map connects South America to Antarctica, which it could very well be that over 10,000 years ago these two continents were connected by a sheet of ice. Researchers claim this map was sourced from an even more ancient document that survived from the Library of Alexandria in Egypt, which was destroyed by the Romans. What if the builders of Giza left this map as directions as to where else they put pyramids around the world? And the pyramids are just the start. Take a look at these ancient artifacts from Bolivia, Turkey, Indonesia, and Easter Island. 4 completely separate corners of the world, all with identical carvings and artistic styles used, and again, thousands of kilometers apart and absolutely no contact among each other. Just another coincidence, right? Now get a load of this one here. I know it sounds crazy, but you'd be surprised. Ancient lasers, or at least some form of precision cutting technology that is on par with our modern drilling methods. From these perfectly cut stone patterns in Pumapunku, Bolivia, to the unfinished obelisk at Aswan and the boxes at the Serapeum of Saqqara in Egypt, made of granite, one of the hardest materials ever, with insane accuracy only achievable with today's technology. The Al Nasla rock in Saudi Arabia literally looks like a giant laser beam just cut right through it. Meanwhile, the Kailash temple in India, which was somehow cut into a cliffside with perfectly symmetrical hallways carved with copy-paste level precision. Not to mention the perfect doorways carved into Barabar caves thousands of years earlier. And these star holes found in Flint Quarry, Massachusetts, and even all the way in Norway, all indicating some sort of highly advanced drilling or precision laser technology used. The incredible list of similarities among these ancient cultures tells us that they all clearly had some sort of external influence that guided them, which they actually recorded proof of directly into their stone tablets, wall carvings, and hieroglyphics. Alright, that might be enough for now. I think I'll save that for another video, so keep an eye out for that one if I don't disappear before then.
Yeah. You know, I've thought about this so many times. I've even debated in my own head if we were ever a primitive species. Like, were we ever a Neanderthal? Were we ever cave people? Is that just part of the narrative as well? I wonder this all the time, especially when you look at the intricate nature of the architecture that existed back then, and it can't be replicated. So that's just my take on it. I don't know. So yeah, that's what I got today, guys. Before I go, I just want to address something that I've been meaning to address in the last little while. In the comment section, if you haven't noticed already, there's going to be a lot of haters, there's going to be a lot of NPCs, there's going to be a lot of trolls. Just follow my lead on this one. Just do what I do, guys. Don't engage. Don't feed the trolls. Don't give them what they want. That's all they want. Just ignore it. A lot of the time, I just read it and I mute that person. So, I mean, they can keep writing comments all they want. Nobody's going to see them. So, like I said, don't engage, because that's all they're looking for. Honestly, it's water off a duck's back for me. I don't care what people say about me. I'm very comfortable with who I am, and I'm very comfortable with the stuff I present. So nothing's going to dissuade me. So I'm here to stay, guys. As long as people keep watching, I'll keep putting it out there. And like I said, you can't offend me. I got the thickest skin ever. I just don't engage. The best advice I can give: don't feed the trolls. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Till then, 80 Canadian, signing off.